Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of My Car Guru. This is Lenny Lawson, and I have a pretty big announcement to make. My wife and I last week decided to put in a pool. Yeah, we're going to take the plunge, so to speak. So our first decision was, what kind of pool do we want? Well, I have seen over my lifetime a number of people who have purchased things like swimming pools, boats, campers, even some vehicles. And, once they got over the initial excitement over it, it just was another chore that they had to do on a Saturday, or something that they just couldn't get fired up about anymore. And so I decided to go to Walmart and get our pool. That's right. So we went to Walmart, and we had two choices. We could get a 16-footer or a 22-footer. So we chose the 16-footer because we liked the faux carbon fiber look that it had. So I couldn't really lift the box. I tried to put it in the shopping cart, and with my bum hip, I just couldn't do it. It's heavy, and my wife doesn't feel like lifting heavy stuff either. So I needed some help. Well, I saw a Walmart person squatted down. They were doing something like counting inventory or something like that, and I walked over to her and said, "Excuse me, ma'am." No response. I repeated, "Excuse me, ma'am." And then she looked up. Maybe she didn't like being called ma'am. Some people don't like that. But she looked up at me with a look of disdain. And I said, "Could you get somebody to come over and help us load this swimming pool?" She didn't say yes. She just grabbed her microphone, or her walkie-talkie, said, "Assistance needed in aisle 3. So I walked away. About 5 minutes later, these two nice people came up with this cart, picked up the pool, took us to the checkout lane. I checked out. My wife and I were able to muscle it into the back of the truck. It wasn't easy, but we did it. Took it home and set it up. And now we have a swimming pool. And all the grandkids came over, and we just had a ball. I mean, it's wonderful. The only problem is I put it on my driveway, my lower driveway, and it has a slight slope to it. And when you read the instructions, you're not supposed to have a slope. It's supposed to be level. So it's kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's the leaning swimming pool at Lenny's house. It doesn't lean that much, though. I think it'll be okay. If it doesn't, we'll just have a tsunami in the lower field behind my house. Hopefully that won't happen. I'll probably go home today, and it will be flatter than a flitter, and all the water will be gone. All 5,000 gallons of water. I'm waiting also for the phone call from the water department saying, "Hey, you all got a leak." So we don't have a leak. We just have a new swimming pool. Okay, today's episode is going back into the mailbag. We do this about every month. We'll dip into the bag and see what kind of questions that we've had over time. Sometimes it seems like lately I get a lot of quality questions. Like, I was really pleased to see that Nissan was ranked number 2 in overall quality by J.D. Power and Associates. That's good, because we're a Nissan dealer. Love seeing that with all the other issues that Nissan is having with around the world with just money. They've partnered up with a couple different manufacturers, and they got into a little bit of trouble several years ago because of the type of incentives that they were doing, and it was encouraging. Well, really, Nissan wasn't the problem. It was Nissan dealers were the problem. And, some of them just don't behave well when it comes to their advertising and just their general marketing tactics. And I think it hurt the brand some. But I'm tickled to death to be a Nissan and a Ford dealer. But we all have issues. There's always something. Ford just announced a recall that's going to be pretty big. But everybody does. You name it. Toyota, Honda, BMW, everybody has recalls. Why do they have them? Well, because I guess it's easy to miss something when you're designing something as complicated as an automobile. You think about the other things that you own. I guarantee there's nothing that you own that is more complicated than the car that is sitting in your driveway. That's one of the justifications for this program, is to help people make decisions and to solve problems that they have with their vehicles. Because I call it your car life. It's a big part of your overall life. And if your car's not operating properly, or if you need to replace it, it's a big decision. We need to treat it with respect. So we're going to go into the mailbag and answer some of these questions, but one of the biggest is about wanting to buy a quality vehicle, but afraid because of all the news about recalls. They're everywhere and with every manufacturer, so we'll get into that here in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. Let's dig in. Let's answer some questions. What is the biggest quality issue on vehicles today? Well, if you guessed that it was electrical or software related, you would be right. You know, these big infotainment screens and cameras and all this technology that we have, it's causing some problems. 8.2 million vehicles were recalled in quarter one alone. That's the first quarter of 2025. 8.2 million, that's a lot of cars. The second biggest quality issue on vehicles are powertrain failures. Right now, I don't know if you've heard about it, but Hyundai and Kia and Toyota, recently Ford and General Motors had some issues, but they're having problems with engine bearings for some reason. These are the bearings that support the crankshaft in the engine, which is really the heart of the engine. It's where you get the twisting motion to turn the rear wheels. And these bearings are failing. Why are they failing? Well, I don't really know. I don't know whether it's materials that are not of high enough quality or what the issue is, but it is across the industry. This would be a definite reason that I would want to buy an extended warranty if I were buying a new vehicle today, just to be safe. Of course, if you're financing the car, you could probably get an extended warranty for an extra $15 to $25 a month. I know that sounds like a lot, but which would be easier to handle, to pay an extra $20 a month or a $8,000 engine repair? And again, just as a reminder, you don't buy any extended warranty where you get a solicitation in the mail unless it comes from the manufacturer of the product that you purchased. So if it's from Toyota and you're driving a Toyota, that's fine. Buy their product. But if it just says, if it's some type of a scare piece where it says, warning, your warranty is about to expire, that kind of stuff, just throw it in the garbage. Don't even open it up. Anything that says urgent on the outside of the envelope, you can pretty much just pitch it because it's not urgent. They just want you to think it's urgent. I wish that was against the law, but it's not. Okay, second question. Had a customer that just swore up and down their car is a lemon. What do they want to do with it? Trade it. So what do we do with it when they trade it in? We fix it, and then we sell it. So, do you want to buy a car that was considered by its previous owner a lemon? Most people would say, no, I don't want to buy a lemon. What is a lemon? Well, it's a vehicle. To me, it's a vehicle that has recurring problems. It's the same issue, and it keeps coming back. They can't get it fixed. Lots of times that's just the skill of the people that are working on the thing. They just haven't gone far enough to find the problem, and that's why the customer considers it to be a lemon. Now, what is a real lemon? A real lemon is something that you put in your sweet tea. No, a real lemon, when it comes to cars, is something or is a vehicle that has been purchased back by the manufacturer due to a lemon law complaint. The customer either agreed to go into arbitration with the manufacturer, or the case went to court and the manufacturer agreed to take the vehicle back. So that would be a true lemon. So what happens to those? Well, the factory takes them to a shop. It could be my dealership. They could bring it to me or take it to somebody in Detroit, wherever they consolidate those vehicles. They get them fixed. They take them to auctions, and they sell them as a buyback. And so the dealer buys it and brings it to his lot, puts it on the lot, and sells it to somebody without ever disclosing that it was a buyback. Would you want to know if it was a buyback? Of course you would. Would you want to buy it? I don't know. It depends on the price and how it was fixed and if it was fixed. I mean, let's say that it had a transmission problem. Then I would want to drive that vehicle enough to know that it doesn't have a transmission problem anymore. And what is the warranty that is on this vehicle? Some buybacks have warranties that are applied by the manufacturer that will cover the new purchaser for a period of time. But still, I mean, it's something that you want to know, don't you? Of course you do. So in order to protect yourself, you better pull a Carfax or an auto check report and see what the status is. The second thing I would always do, is call a dealer who sells that particular vehicle, give them the 17-digit VIN number, tell them you're thinking about buying it, and do they see anything in the warranty history that would scare you? Or would they give you a printout of the warranty history? Some will, some won't because of privacy issues. But still, they'll level with you. It's better to do it in person than to call them on the phone. A lot of people just don't want to go into a car dealership, unless they're thinking about doing business with them. But they're willing to do that in most cases. Just go to the service department and ask for a service advisor. And probably the first person that will greet you in a service drive will be a service advisor. And then you just ask them, tell them, I'm thinking about buying this car. Could you look at the VIN and see if it's had any problems or issues? I sure would appreciate it. Anybody that wouldn't do that is a jerk. But there are some of those that work in dealerships. They're so busy taking care of their own customers. But I would be willing to say that most of the time somebody will help you. So that's what you do. Warranty history, Carfax, auto check. The final thing, find out the owner's name and call them, and just ask them. And some dealers will not release that information either. So how you get the owner's name and how do you get permission? You go to the dealership, you speak to a sales manager, general manager, you tell them you're thinking about buying this car from them, but you will not buy it until you talk to the previous owner. They will call the previous owner, see if it's okay, and then they'll give you the number, and then you call them. If they won't release that information, I'd be real concerned about buying that car, quite frankly. Okay, what else is in here? Let's see. When is the best time of the month to buy a car? Well, traditionally, dealers are under the most pressure at the end of the month. Some are at the end of a fiscal year for a manufacturer, which there's no way you're going to know that. The end of a quarter, because of quarterly bonuses that some manufacturers offer, but that's hard to peg also. Model year closeout, just about any time that you go in after August, from like August until January. I mean, they're going to have leftover vehicles from the previous model year, and those are where the deals are going to be. The rebates are going to be the biggest. It may have been in inventory for a long time, and the dealer wants to get rid of it. I've always said that one of the best things you can do to get a great deal on a car is when you're talking to the salespeople, you just say, show me the oldest. Let's say you're looking at a Ford Bronco, and you ask the salesperson, show me the oldest Ford Bronco in inventory. Why do you want to see that? Well, because I've heard that you can get the best deal on the oldest vehicles in stock. Who told you that? Well, the car guru did. And if you want to listen to him, you can listen to him on AM 910 WJCW, or he has a really cool podcast called the My Car Guru podcast. So then you've done your good deed for the day. Maybe he'll get educated. But yeah, the end of the month is really the best time, I think. Beginning of the month, the pressure's off. Everybody's starting off, fresh, and of course, they want to get a car sold for sure. Every day we want to get a car sold, but there's less pressure in the morning, in the middle of the month. So you want to go in towards the end of the month when they're on high alert. They need deals. They got to hit their objective, and they're willing to cut some deals. I had a great experience with a good friend of mine. He went to buy a Honda Odyssey, and he shopped around. I talked about that on the previous publication. But he was jacked around a lot by several different dealerships, and it was interesting to see the things that the dealers would not do. For example, he wanted to see his deal, the deal that they were offering him in writing, and they refused to give it to him in writing. They'd show it to him. He asked if he could take a picture of it. They said, no, We're not going to let you take our numbers and just go shop them. Is that not crazy? I would have just jumped up, and I think he did, and just walk out of the place. Well, thank you very much. If that's the way you feel about me and that's how you do business, then I certainly don't want to do business with you. See ya. Okay, what else? I had a customer the other day worried because the F-150. Now, they've been putting turbochargers in F-150s since, what, 2011? Maybe 2015? I can't remember now. Time flies. And they were concerned about the reliability of turbochargers. I think they had talked to a couple guys that sold Silverados, which GM, I'm sure they use turbochargers, but that's not the main thing they do in their Silverado. They use that cylinder deactivation nonsense. So they wanted to know if the turbochargers are reliable. Boy, I remember when they weren't. Back when Chevrolet, I remember we were a Chevrolet dealer, and they came out with a, let's see, what year was that? 79, 80, 81. They came out with a turbocharged V6 engine in a Monte Carlo. And if we saw one leave, somebody bought one, we were pretty certain that at some point in the not-too-distant future, they'd be back. And, well, maybe the service people knew that. I didn't know it. I just thought it was a great way to get extra power out of a smaller displacement engine. I didn't know they weren't reliable. Are they reliable now? Very reliable. You know, because of the advancements in materials, they just have better steel, better metal. All these complicated alloys that they use in these parts that have to spin at thousands and thousands of RPMs. Also, they've improved design. They've made them smaller. They've figured out ways to put in additional amounts of lubrication and integrated cooling into these systems, these turbochargers, so it just works better. Most turbocharged engines now have intercoolers that cool the exhaust before it gets to the turbocharger to spin it. You know, turbocharger is just a way to force more air into an engine. And if it can be cooler air, then that's better. I don't know why. There's a scientific reason for it. Hotter air is not as good for an engine as cool air. Maybe it has to do with the speed of the molecules bouncing around. Does that sound like a good explanation? We want cool air. That's all that I know. Okay, had a customer the other day. We had to put leather in the seats. They bought a, what was it, XLT Ford F-150 crew cab, and they wanted to put leather in it. Is that a problem? No. It's wonderful. If you have a car with an old shabby interior, you like the car. You love it. Maybe the leather's gone kaput. You can get leather from a company called Katzkin, Katzkin. It is wonderful. It is way better leather than what they put in from the factory. Because, you know, the seats, you know, when you get leather from the factory in a vehicle, the only thing that's leather is the part you're sitting on. All the side bolsters and all that, all the back, that's not leather. With Katzkin, it's all leather. And it looks good. What's the cost? Well, the average vehicle is about $1,800 installed. Does that sound bad? That is a fraction of what it would cost if you got it from the factory. You know, anywhere from $1,500 on the low side to $2,500 on the high side, depending on the quality and the thickness and the design. You can get them with different color stitching. There's so many cool different things you can do with Katzkin. If you have any questions about this, if you're local, contact me. I can help you with it. We don't put those interiors in vehicles, but we have a company in Knoxville that comes up here and does it right here on our lot. It's just amazing. So yes, you can put leather in a car that wasn't born with leather. Okay, right after this break, I'm going to talk about what is the best vehicle for a new driver. You might want to listen to that. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. I had to think really hard, and I'm sure you did too, about what kind of vehicle to give my kids when they first started driving. My priorities were, if they got hit, I wanted them to be wrapped in airbags, but also wanted good crash ratings on the vehicles. So those are two important things. Advanced safety features to help them survive an accident. Also to avoid accidents. I think that's important. I wanted my kids to have cars that handled well, that had a low center of gravity, which would be a passenger car, not an SUV. What did they want? Well, my son wanted a big old jacked up tall SUV. He wasn't getting it. And my daughters had more sense, and they were willing to go with a passenger car or whatever Daddy would provide. They were less demanding. But good crash ratings are important, and you can find those out on the government websites, how many stars they get. Let's see, International Institute for Highway Safety. What else? Reliable, low maintenance. I think that's important. And I think the kids should have to maintain their own cars. They should have to pay for their oil changes, pay for their gas, maybe not pay for their insurance, but, just whatever they can afford. But they need to invest in it. I think it makes them appreciate it more. And also, to keep the vehicle in good shape, to keep it clean. But you want it to be reliable, and you want it to be low maintenance. Don't buy them a BMW. Don't buy them a sports car. Buy them a car that they're slightly ashamed of. I've always felt like that's the best thing to do, because then they won't worry about driving their friends all over the place. And they won't want to park it where everybody can see it, and they'll get all distracted. That's just, I know teenagers. I'm sorry. I think it's important for it to be fuel efficient and not burn premium fuel. Who's paying for the gas? Make them pay for the gas. Make them work. Make them work for it. I think it makes a difference. And then finally, something that's user-friendly, something that's not overly complicated. I think hands-free driving is important to be able to sync up with their car. If it doesn't have a sound system that works with Apple CarPlay or whatever the Android version of that is, then you can install it. You can go to a stereo store. We have a local one that's great, North Main Audio, and they actually install these systems in cars, and they'll have maps. You'll be able to use navigation. You'll be able to do hands-free calling. That's the first thing I did in my grandson's 2005 Chevy truck that I gave him to drive, is I put, was it Kenwood or Pioneer system in it, so he could use Apple CarPlay and talk hands-free. I think that's important. And he loves it. He actually uses it. Whenever he calls me and he's in his car, he's using Bluetooth. And that's what I want. Now, if I can just get him to not pull out in front of cars and let other people direct traffic for him, tell him, yeah, it's clear, come on. I'm still working on fixing his truck. He got broadsided. But that's going to happen sometimes. We just have to mitigate it as much as we can. But do what you can to protect your kids and your grandkids with the right kind of car. Don't give them what they want. Don't give them a Jeep. No 280Zs, nothing like that. They are not worthy yet. I don't care what kind of grades they're getting. Let them get a really cool car when they graduate from college. Get it then. Their brains will be more mature at that point, because they make ignorant decisions at young ages. And their reactions, there's just so many different reasons to follow these rules. And I think you understand that. Okay, we'll finish up this list on the next episode, but thanks for listening. If you have a question, call me 423-552-2020 or send me an email to LennyLawson2020@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.